Well, the 2024-25 OHL season is just flying by. We're now entering the final weekend. And what's great about this season is the amount of playoff positions that are still up for grabs and a team in the middle of it, the Owen Sound Attack. So I figured I'd invite JC Coutts on, who is the host of the Bear Tracker Weekly podcast. He had me on his podcast a few months ago, and I wanted to return the favor because you're doing such a great job with the show covering the Owen Sound Attack. And I wanted to get your thoughts on how the season's been so far.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike. I really appreciated you being on the show earlier this season, and I think this is actually the first time I've asked to be on someone else's podcast. So hopefully, I don't mess it up too badly. I'm not
well,
used to being a guest.
well, you're used to asking all the questions because you also host the attack broadcasts on Rogers TV, so you get to know this attack team inside and out. And when the season started, everyone kind of figured, okay, it was going to be a rebuild in Owen Sound, but just the messaging from Dale DeGray and that he wanted this to be a blue collar team, wanted it to be a tough challenge for visiting opponents to play at the Bayshore. It seems like that plan is coming together.
I mean, you love it when a plan comes together, right? And it really has this season for the Owen Sound Attack. Nobody really gave this team much of a chance when the season started. And I mean, I'll admit, even us on the broadcasting side, we weren't really sure what we were in for. But as it turns out, I'm going to give full credit to Scott Ray and Brandon Shaw and Regan O'Grady on this because they somehow have been able to take this young group and mold them into something really special, into a group that really believes in themselves, really believes in, obtaining a goal, which the goal is to make the playoffs. And it's been so much fun to watch them from a broadcasting perspective. I know from a fan perspective, it's been a lot of fun. I hear from the fans constantly that they love this team. They love their spirit, even though they don't necessarily win every night. And you're not sure if you're going to walk away happy from the Bayshore. You're going to walk away proud of the team, which has really been something. It's a stark contrast from last season when we had a really good team. Last year's team on paper was projected to win the West. They did not. They had issues and inconsistency all season long. And like some really talented players led by Colby Barlow last year, Denny Gore was outstanding. Sam Sedley ended up setting a defenseman points record for the team. They're all gone now. And on a night-to-night basis, you weren't sure what kind of team you were going to see, if it was going to be Jekyll or Hyde. Like it was a tough season. The fans weren't showing up. Like we've sold out the last two games at the Bayshore. All of a sudden, it's a loud building again. It's a fun atmosphere. It was just absolutely bonkers on Saturday night when Kitchener was in town this past week. And even though the home team didn't win, man, the fans were happy to see the effort on the ice.
Yeah, and it was just at the start of the season, all the talk about Colby Barlow, where would he end up after he said he didn't want to report to the attack. So all the signs were there that this was an attack team that was looking to the future. Even Cedric Gandon moving on to the Kingston Frontenacs, it was just a fire sale, it felt like. But with that, it's allowed some of the younger talent to really step up. And one of those being Pierce Bowie, who's been lights out in the second half and has now set a franchise record for rookie points.
I mean, it's a heck of a thing to take a young kid like Pierce Bowie, who he's not the biggest guy on the team. He does play like he's about a foot taller than he's actually listed. He does not mind getting into the corners and taking big hits. There's been a few times where he's gotten just rocked with a hit at the Bayshore this year, and I thought there's no way this kid's getting back up. And he always bounces back up. The only time we were ever afraid was this past Saturday. Andy Brown had to come out and check on him, and he was fine. He was out his next shift again. But the fact that he plays so hard and the fact that you can always count on him, I think is a big reason why the coaching staff said, yeah, let's put him on the top line. Let's see what he can do. And most of his points have come in the second half of the season since New Year's Day. I fully credit Landon Hookey, our captain, on that for the fact that he's really made the youngster feel welcome on that line. They've since separated them, and now he's on a kid line with Michael Deck, who's been recalled, and also with Cole Zaraski, who was a pickup from Flint this year. So you got the 6 and 7 overall draft picks now playing on the same line from the same draft year. And, I mean, they're not always perfect when they're out on the ice together. They do make mistakes, which If you talk to Scott Ray, he says, yeah, we expect mistakes, but they always put them out the next shift, which again isn't something we saw last season here. The coaching staff last year, you were guaranteed when you walked into the Bayshore, you knew who the starting line was going to be, you knew who the lines were going to be, you knew who the scratches were, because they just played it like. I mean, we had a guy that was an NHL player, and he kind of played him like an NHL team. This year, they've got a good rotation of young guys in and out of the lineup so they can get experience. They never want them to miss their next shift, and I think that's important. Scott Ray, anytime you ask him, will always repeat the line, this is a development league, and if you're not developing your talent properly, you're not going to get very far in this league. So you really have to give the kids a chance. You have to be okay when they make the mistake, but you have to be there with the iPad on the bench and be like, here's what happened, here's how it went down, and here's what you can do differently next time in that situation and not make the same mistake. And this team, even though they make mistakes, they really learn from them, and they rarely make the same mistake twice.
And they do have that reassurance when they do make the mistakes with Carter George in net. He's having another amazing season, and at times it seems as though people tend to forget about just that. For Carter George, there's more than just him on this team, and I think you see it night in, night out with this attack team, what he brings to this team, and how important he is for this organization.
He's a leader for a good reason. He's an assistant captain on the team. Unfortunately, they don't let goalies wear the letters in the OHL, but there's been some times where the team's been behind, and Carter's been the voice in the dressing room in between periods where he can really rally this team. They believe in him, and he's a guy that when you talk to him, you love his swagger, who he is. He doesn't have the biggest head on his shoulders in terms of an ego. But man, he's a smart kid, and we are lucky to have if you're a developing team, to have arguably the best goaltender in the entire Canadian Hockey League on your team. Certainly the best goaltender for Team Canada. It's a good guy to have in the room, and I know he's going to go on to do amazing things, but in the meantime, we've got him. You get to see him on a nightly basis. His stats line, when you look at it, might not look amazing, but when you watch those saves and you watch just how quickly he can adapt his game, like it seemed like the last couple of weeks he was having a little bit of trouble with the glove side. He got beat a few times on the road trip to Erie. Flint picked him off a couple times last week. And then Saturday or Friday night, he goes into Guelph, and all of a sudden he's showing, hey, I've got this fixed, and he's grabbing pucks out of the air. It's just amazing how he can adapt his game. I know that he's got the mental part of the game. He works with quite a few people to talk about, what scares you as a goaltender and what challenges you might not want to face. And he's a guy that will come in and say, I want to face this. I want to face an odd man rush situation. I want to face a breakaway. I want to be in a shootout. So that's a different mentality for a goaltender, it would seem. But for him, it really works. And, man, we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, goaltenders are such a unique breed, and Carter George, no exception to that. But you did touch on earlier about Landon Hookie, and he's the leader of this team, off the ice and on the ice. But I think back to that trade with Sault Ste. Marie a couple seasons ago, and it didn't seem like such a big deal at the time. But now Hookie having a career year, and it just talk a bit about his game and what he means for this organization.
Well, I remember when Landon arrived, and he was a great kid. I mean, right off the bat, he was nice. He's approachable. He's a gentle giant out there. He's a big guy who he can throw the body around. And as he's proven this season, all of a sudden he's a bit of a goal scorer as well. I think it really changed. I mean, Landon started this season as an assistant captain, and just getting the letter on his jersey really started to elevate his game a little bit. And then when Connor Smith was dealt to Brampton and Landon got the C, that's when things really changed. I think his entire life, maybe he's been overlooked for leadership roles. He's never been a captain before. And as soon as they slapped the C on his jersey and he knew it was all on him, that's when things really started to change. That's when the rest of the team really rallied around him as a captain and as a leader. And I keep saying, I mean, AI is a powerful thing. Is there something we can do to change his birth certificate and resubmit it to the league and say, no, he's not an 04, he's an 05. We've got another year with him, because that would be fantastic. I'd love to keep him around for one more year with this young team. But someone else will get to emerge next season after Landon moves on. I know it's a little bit of a scary thing for him because he doesn't have necessarily a landing spot for once his OHL career is done. But he comes from an incredible family. I've met his parents on a few occasions. His mom was on the podcast earlier this year. And he comes from a heck of a story, too. I mean, he's a guy that very recently has taken on a leadership role in the community, promoting mental health. Unfortunately, his story is it's a little bit dark in times. He lost his uncle to suicide. His dad passed away when he was quite young. So he created a thing called Keep Climbing, and they have hoodies that they sell and T-shirts inside the Bayshore. They put them on sale about a month ago, and they sold out in 5 minutes. So they've since had to put another bunch on sale, and I keep seeing people wearing them. I keep seeing his teammates wearing them. So it's good to have an advocate for mental health in a time when, for these young guys. And the World Juniors was a good example of us learning about the pressures and the stress and how unruly fans can be towards them. It's just so much easier to get access to them and to send these negative messages to them. So to have somebody stand up in the room and say, here's where I come from. It's not the rosiest of places, but if I can keep climbing and keep pushing and keep going forward, so can you. So I think it's a pretty powerful thing for a young kid like him.
No, and that's fantastic, and it just goes to show just more of that leadership qualities that he brings. And the Owen Sound Attack, they're going to need it going into this weekend, playing three very tough opponents as they try and clinch a playoff spot. At the time of recording, they're right now tied for that final playoff spot, and it's a bit of a nail biter right now for the fans at the Bayshore, is it not?
It is. It's. I mean, how first of all though, how cool is it to be playing meaningful hockey at this time of year? Like it's pretty awesome. But I have had to start to take more in blood pressure medication because it's a crazy race. It's fun, but it's crazy at the same time. The schedule definitely did the team no favors. They had some tough opponents down the stretch. They still have tough opponents this week. Of course, they're going to face Barrie on Thursday, which recent history has shown that we've matched up quite well against the Colts. Yep. So I believe the plan is to start Carter George on Thursday night. Matt Kaprowski's going to get the start in Kitchener on Friday. He played well against the Rangers this past Saturday, filling in for Carter George. And then Carter's probably going to wrap things up at home on Saturday against Guelph. I mean, you can't really look at Guelph and go, well, that's an easy one because they're out, they're done. No, I mean, they've got the chance to ruin the season for the Attack, so you have to expect it's going to be a tough game at home on Saturday night. You know that Kitchener, I think they might hit the 100-point mark by Friday, but if they don't, that's still a goal that they're trying to accomplish as a team. And we saw evidence on Saturday that Kitchener is not a team that you can, let off the mat. They will burn you. They have enough tools to do that, and they've got great coaching there as well. And I think all bets are off on Thursday against Barrie. Obviously, there's a little bit of love-hate relationship with Barrie, being that they are so close. It's a shame that we don't see them as many times in a season as we do Kitchener. And I know that Sean Aitchison has been a thorn in the side of Attack fans. Mason Ray is now back in the lineup after Sean broke his face a few months ago, or a month or so ago. So I mean, they'll be looking maybe for a little bit of revenge there, but at the same time, if you're trying to throw an extra hard hit on Sean Aitchison, he's probably going to dodge you and break down the ice and score a goal on you. So there are so many weapons on that Barrie team that nothing is for certain. But if you really want to have a shot at getting in, you're going to need 4 out of the 6 points this week.
And if the Owen Sound Attack, of course, make the playoffs, they're looking at maybe a date with London or Windsor. I know you guys had that conversation on your podcast on the Media Roundtable about who would you rather face, but really, it's two very tough opponents, and you guys have seen them quite regularly, both the Knights and the Spitfires.
Yeah, pick your poison. I mean, it's they're both very good teams. There's storylines to each of them. The London storyline obviously is the fact that the Owen Sound Attack have not beat them at all this season. They've gone to overtime with them a few times, but they are 0-8 against the Knights. And the last time they faced them down in London, I had a front row seat for that. I took my niece to that game, and they lost 9-1 that night. So it was a rough one to be wearing an Owen Sound Attack jersey in that building on that Friday night. But they're going to be tough. London's on the revenge tour this season. We all saw what happened in the Memorial Cup last year. I was also there for that game when Saginaw scored late to win it. We're all sitting there going, "Let's have overtime. This will be so great into the OHL final." But no, it was heartbreak for them. So their goal is pretty solid. No one's going to stand in their way. Windsor's an interesting storyline because they have our old coach in Windsor, and I know unfortunately for him, he was kind of unceremoniously run out of town here. I do give him full credit, though. I mean, he's kind of reinvented himself. Greg Cowan had the great quote when Owen Sound played Windsor earlier this season. Greg Cowan from the Owen Sound Sun-Times said he rolled back into town looking like a divorced dad, like fresh with the Mustang keys and like just coming back for revenge. And they got it that night. So that is going to be a storyline, but I think if they match up better against one or the other, it's probably going to be Windsor. Windsor is a great team, but you'd have to think in a series like that, Carter George could maybe steal a game or two here or there. But with London, it's just, even the last game, Carter George started that 9-1 loss, let 6 goals in. There are just so many weapons, and Cowan was picking the top corner on him. Bonk was finding the back of the net. Like, these are guys he played with on Team Canada, so they know him well. There's a good respect amongst those players, but I've seen London come in here and sweep us before a couple seasons ago, and I have a feeling if it's London, it might be the same. But that said, you can't deny the fact that these kids getting some playoff exposure, even if it's a first round sweep or a first round loss, having that in your back pocket moving into next season. There's an old saying, I hate the saying, but you have to learn to lose before you can win. It's just so valuable. And getting there, accomplishing the feat will be one thing that these kids will carry forward with them into next year. And then having that experience, playing playoff hockey, getting that extra experience will be just completely invaluable for them.
Well, especially with the young pieces on this team. I know for Terry Doyle of the Sarnia Sting, I had him on last week, and he was saying the exact same thing for that team. Young teams, you want to get that playoff experience, and if it's against the Knights, well, you try your best and gain that experience to go into next season. So you are in the Western Conference, so we get a limited viewing here in Barrie as to how the West is shaping up. Do you see anyone in the West maybe threatening the London Knights to maybe win the conference?
That's a hard question. I mean, the Kitchener Rangers, they've got Jackson Parsons. So, again, if we're talking about great goaltending, he might be a guy that if they were to somehow face each other, could steal a game here or there against them. Windsor obviously has a lot of offensive tools. They might be able to take a game off of the Knights, but it's hard. I went to game one of the OHL finals last season when it was Oshawa and London. And you'd think, man, Oshawa could at least get one game in this series. No, it was all London, and I think it will be all London again. They've gone through some adversity again this season, one of which, of course, being the big headline story of Cam Allen. But that's something that you rebound around as a team. They've got a coach that just won his 1,000th game, and they love that guy. They love playing for the Hunters. It's an organization that is built purposely from the top down to the bottom. And it's an organization that really has a winning culture. And when you have that culture, I know a lot of the 20 teams in the OHL, 19 of them hate that culture. They don't like the London Knights, whether or not they admit it or not. But you have to respect it. I mean, there's some homework you can take from that London Knights model for sure. And until someone properly figures out how to clone that model, you're always going to be cursing it. So I don't know. It's going to be tough. Windsor maybe, Kitchener maybe, Saginaw. I don't think so. I think that they're just they've had an amazing season coming off of the Memorial Cup, and the amount of talent that they have lost on that team, and the fact that they were sellers at the deadline as well, sending out some of their big talented players. The kids have been doing great. Zane Parek's been doing great. Michael Misa is really gunning for one of the top drafted spots this year, and he's been insanely good. I don't know if it's good enough to take a game off the Knights, but I would be surprised if we do see an upset in the first round. I think the top four are probably going through in the West.
Either way, we got playoff hockey right around the corner. And JC, I appreciate you taking the time today to talk about the Owen Sound Attack and enjoy this final weekend. And hopefully, you'll get some playoff hockey to call coming up.
Thanks, Mike. I mean, I've got a lot of work to do in the backyard now that the snow's melted, but I'd rather put that work off and have to be at the Bay Shore instead. So, fingers crossed, we get a little more hockey this year.
So that's JC Coutts, the host of the Rogers TV broadcast for the Owen Sound Attack, and also the host of the Bear Tracker Weekly podcast. If you're looking for all things Owen Sound Attack, the Bear Tracker podcast, place to be. Plus, they do have a media roundtable discussion where they do touch on things around the Ontario Hockey League. So definitely worth listen to or watch on YouTube. But again, thank you very much to JC joining the channel here. A bit of a crossover as the Barrie Colts get ready to take on the Owen Sound Attack Thursday night. That'll be a 7 o'clock puck drop. Gene and I will have the call on Rogers TV. It's always fun when we get the Highway 26 rivalry. It'd be nice if the two teams could meet in the playoffs. But of course, being in opposite conferences, the only way that would happen is if Owen Sound and Barrie would happen to meet for an OHL championship. So you never know in the next couple of years or so. But anyways, thanks again for tuning in, and thank you very much for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Talk to you again soon.